Welcome back to Comic Krackle, Cosmic Krackle. I'm your host, Kirby, and this is a podcast that I do on a quarterly basis, apparently. But today I have my good buddy, Evan, coming on to talk about Goodbye Eri by Tatsuki Fujimoto. This is going to be a part of the main video, but I wanted to have Evan on because we both had strong feelings about this book, and I wanted to get his perspective. But, Evan, introduce yourself.
Hey guys, I'm evanvondoom, and I'm just here to say that we're recording this before the final game of the Knicks versus Spurs game. So I'm just going to call it right now that I think the Knicks are probably going to win. It's probably going to look bad for them for the first half, maybe third. But I bet they're going to be down by 5 points and win by... let's say 4. Win by 4. So, Knicks in 5. You heard it here first. Nowhere else. But I'm evanvondoom. I usually don't do basketball talk. I usually do comic book talk and talk about other stuff. Most recently, horror I've been really into. So that's pretty much my whole gist. I just like to talk about comics. I love comics. And I'm very excited to be here, Kirby. So thank you for inviting me.
Of course. And talking about basketball and horror, Wimby is scary looking.
That is a man who you would expect to see at the end of Alien Romulus.
Oh, that is a good example. Mine was immediately like a fucked up version of like Attack on Titan. You know what the Titans look like whenever they're all like lopsided and shit. Yeah, I was talking with my wife. It was actually earlier today, and she just texted me out of nowhere and said, Wimby looks weird as hell. And we just start sending each other pictures of the Titans from Attack on Titan to try to figure out which one he is. But anyways, yeah, Knicks in 5. My mayor Muslim.
Yeah. Bagel's Jewish.
My bagel's Jewish. So we're talking about Goodbye Eri. I talk about it in the video, but I'm like relatively new to reading manga. This book came highly recommended, especially after I covered the video for Zoe Thorogood. And everybody had basically said, you know, if you like Zoe Thorogood's work, you're definitely going to like Goodbye Eri and then branch out from there for Fujimoto. So I came into it with pretty high expectations. I've come around to it, but the first reading, it just kind of fell flat because it felt like a joke. And which I'll get into in a little bit, but I didn't know his voice, and after reading it like 5 times for the video, reading it back and forth, I finally think I understand him. And I think that that's so captivating. But how did you find out about this book in particular?
So I'm kind of on the opposite end of you, where I've been into manga for a little bit longer. My first manga that I read was like Full Metal Alchemist because I was watching the show, and then I couldn't watch more of the show for some reason. So I was like, I'm going to read the manga. And I read the whole manga. Then I finally got access to the show. And, you know, that's how the cycle of manga to anime to manga again goes, kind of. So... after that, I read, like, I'm not a fanatic. Like, a lot of people will just read manga and just watch anime, and that's not me. Manga is my secondary love behind comics, or Western comics, I should say. So I would say that I read like maybe 2 mangas a year. I'll binge them. So, like this year, I can't remember if I read Goodbye Eri this year or late last year, but I think I read it very early this year. And the reason I read it was because I tried multiple times to get into Chainsaw Man, and I do not get it. I don't get the hype. I don't love the art style. The animation in the anime is like pretty cool, but the dialogue I don't like. I get the things, like the big thing, and this is what annoys me. I'm sorry, I'm gonna go on a little rant here, but
no,
whenever
go
you
for
say
it.
You don't like Chainsaw Man, people are like, "Oh, you just don't get it. The themes are so deep." And I'm like, "No, I get it. I get it. The woman's a pedophile. We get it. She needs control. We get it. This is not new ground." But I will say, like, I do think he's trying to tell, like, a very captivating and serious conversation, especially now after reading Goodbye Eri. I understand his language more, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, Chainsaw Man just comes off so
Juvenile.
immature, juvenile. Yes. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I couldn't get into it. So that was 2 years ago. I tried again, and I just couldn't get into it. And so I added, was it Look Back and Goodbye Eri,
Mm-hmm.
to my to read list. And finally, just one night, I was like, I kind of want to feel a little sad. Goodbye Eri is supposed to be pretty quick. Let's give this guy another shot. So I just read it, and I read it in like an hour, and then I just stared at the ceiling afterwards for like an hour, and I finally had that Danny DeVito moment of me just being like, I get it, you know.
Uh-huh.
So for me, again, opposite in the sense that I was a bigger manga fan than you going into this, and I loved it on my first read. I thought it was fantastic. I thought the art style was really, really, really good. It's better than Chainsaw Man. I don't know what's going on with Chainsaw Man, but you look at these books side by side. It's clear that they're from the same creator. It's also more clear that Goodbye Eri got a little bit more love in
Mm-hmm.
Chainsaw Man, maybe because he's trying to pump it up out weekly. It gets a little bit more rushed, and I think that's clear in the art style. But for Goodbye Eri, it's so contained, and it feels I don't know. There's a lot more art direction that seems to go into it. Like I love the blurry camera, like the camera's trying to go into focus, and I love that some frames are set up. Like the reasoning for why the frames are set up to be artistic makes sense, even for the character who's like supposed to be in middle school. But it
Mm-hmm.
also makes sense when the camera's kind of frantic or the camera is a little lopsided. Because you're like, oh, it's a dude recording in middle school.
Yeah.
Um, so I don't know. I love this book, and I could keep talking about it, but I'll bounce it back to you so I can stop.
Well, and just going off of that, I was making a note while I was, working on the video, and I was talking about how it incorporates film into a different medium basically. You know that some points of the narrative that are going forward, you see the shaky camera, and you can tell whenever it's a high stress moment for Yuta because the camera starts to get shaky and the pencils start to get a little bit more erratic to demonstrate that. And that was something that caught my eye immediately because I've never seen that in particular done in manga or comics in general to bring in a different medium into, words and pictures. So I could obviously see like a cinematic storytelling and even just the shot composition and blocking, that's a part of the narrative and it serves a purpose. So I had read it, and the only problems that I had with Eri on the first read was the ending. But everything else, I knew that it was operating at 100%. And I knew that he had something in particular that he was trying to get across. And then you read something like Look Back in tandem with that, and it really shows from a creator's perspective of wanting to do something and hyper focusing on it and being obsessive with your craft, and that becomes your whole life. For Yuta in Goodbye Eri, it's documenting his life. That is his safety net. That's what he knows to do, and he does this, and all throughout high school, and he goes back to it whenever he's an adult and he experiences loss. So making film is something that puts him at ease, even if it's not necessarily a positive result. But then on the other hand, you have something like Look Back, where it's two personifications of Fujimoto. The characters are literally his name split in half. And it's two separate creators putting their all into what they do and showcasing a perspective of a creator in a way that only a creator can demonstrate to the audience, and it can feel like it resonates even if you haven't done anything that's creative in particular. You're not a manga creator, you're not an artist in the same way that Fujimoto is, but you can empathize because it's almost a human experience.
Yeah, and to go back to how Yuri uses the camera in this instance of the story, I also think it's not just about comfort, but also control. I think there's a
Hmm.
lot of things totally out of control in his life, namely his, the passing of his mom and the passing of Eri. But he is able to control this memory of them, and so the memory of these characters that are passing is really the central focus, and it's about the comfort we get from choosing that memory. We also see that bounce off. I want to say as a foil, but more of his juxtaposition with his dad. When his dad comes and sits down with him on the couch and talks about the experience with his mom and how he wished he could have stood up to her more, but also he was grateful that Yuri did capture the beautiful side of her, and that's what they get to remember. And then Eri's friend has a similar situation towards the end of the book where she is like, hey, yeah, she wore like glasses, right? And he's like, yeah, she asked me not to put that in. She's like, okay. And her retainer? Yeah, she told me not to have the retainer in there. She's like, okay. Also, she was kind of a big bitch, wasn't she? And he's like,
Hmm.
yeah, she was. So I think there is a lot of control that comes from the creative process when we're creating stories. And a lot of times when we create stories, even when it's not about death, it is about trying to tell a story and a message in some type of way. So there's still a similar amount of control in every creative process, even if it's not so censoring, I guess.
Yeah. Well, and so I want to get your perspective because this is how I read it um, after looking at it multiple times, obviously. But whenever we get to the reveal of the mother was abusive to
Mm.
Yuta, you know, she had a disregard for him, and Eri even points this out and says that's kind of fucked up, having to document your mom's final moments. And whenever it's revealed in that aspect, we realize that Yuta is shaping the narrative and what we see,
Mm.
and we were never supposed to see his mother being abusive in that moment. And he does get to control the narrative, and his dad is thankful for it. But whenever it gets to the point where the friend of Eri and Yuta says that about she was kind of a bitch and she always had a retainer in and she always wore her glasses, you realize that throughout the entirety of this book, Eri never had glasses on and never had a retainer as far as we know.
Mm.
So every moment of this book that Eri is a part of the narrative realistically is only through the lens that Yuta wants to show us. So no moment in this book is Eri actually herself,
Mm.
and we're only getting the Eri that Yuta wants to portray. And I
Yeah.
think that was fascinating to have that reveal because you realize no, we never actually met her. We only met the actress that's playing her.
Mm. Yeah, I think it's definitely like really complicated because I see it in the same way that one, we have memories of people, and two, we record memories of people. Because when
Yeah.
we record things, like when you look back at your family videos, like if you ever sit down with your parents and they're like, let's whip out the old footage, and they plug it to the TV and it's like, oh, here's you on the merry-go-round. This is your first time on the merry-go-round. You're so happy. They always capture moments like that. They never capture the moments where they're like, here's where you killed your dog. And you're like,
Yeah.
whoa, why would you record that? Why would you save that? They don't keep those moments. So it's very like normal for Utah to also kind of form that. I think the big difference between obviously us and him would be that we're not making a film, so there's even less control that we think about. We are just thinking about capturing happy moments. He is thinking about capturing everything and then editing it down to be specific. The difference between his mom and Eri, though, and I think the reason why we don't see Eri in these other lights is one, it's a really good narrative choice. I think
Yeah.
Fujimoto did a really fantastic job of choosing what to show and what not to show, and that choice leaves it very open to the viewer. So we get to see halfway through the story, we finally get to see like, oh shoot, his mom was abusive, and that changes how we view the entire front half of the book. But as it continues, then we get that drop of Eri, and we never see that. We kind of get to choose what that actually looked like. And I think the big difference is he records Eri's death and doesn't record his mom's death. So it kind of, for me, gives an idea of like, oh, yeah, Eri might have been rude and maybe impolite and like controlling, but she wasn't like a bad, abusive person. That's, I don't think I think we do see a pretty good depiction of who she is as a character, even though it's controlled. Because I'm sorry to rant about this, but the other side of this, because I think it's so layered, and that's why I love it. But the other side of this is that you were saying that Eri is, in a way, an actress, even if she isn't. She might be an actress, but even if she is playing herself, she's playing a role. But that's not different from how we all play ourselves, right? Like, for me, for example, when I'm on camera, I take a second. When I'm in real life, I don't think. I just talk. When I'm on camera, there is a split second that I take to be like, am I going to say the right thing here? Or what should I say? Or how should I present myself? And even before I got onto camera today, I thought about, did I do my hair right? I don't even have that much hair. Like, did I do my hair right? What shirt am I wearing? Should I drink water beforehand? Like, all these things are going into me controlling my own narrative in this simple recording. So, for me, I don't think Eri is a faker person or it's a false depiction of her just because there is an editing down of what we see of her. I just think we're seeing one of multiple sides of her, and we're getting her in her best light, which, in this case, I don't think is a bad thing.
No. I do like the idea that it's all filtered through the perspective of Yuta, but I mean, like you were saying, there's different sides of a person that you're going to see, and it plays it up, their relationship, even if they weren't, in a relationship and actually, loved each other in the way that was presented in the film overall, that friendship is something that Yuta needed in that moment. And being able to have grief in a way that's positive. And I've been referring to it as good grief, like it's Charlie Brown. But it's a positive version where he is able to properly mourn, and he uses film as therapy. And he even says whenever he's pitching the movie to Eri, the protagonist is trying to get over his mother's death. And so he wants to film the last moments of the Eri character. And so he's able to fulfill that for himself. And that is I feel like that's the climax of the movie. And whenever we cut to the time skip and Yuta is older and it's just dropped on us like a Logan Paul apology video that, hey, we're in a car accident. My wife, my kids, my dad, everybody's dead. I'm the only one who survived. I'm going to go kill myself now. Like, I felt like it was in a similar way to Iron Claw, where there was another brother that died in that story of the family of wrestlers. It felt like a hat on a hat of tragedy and loss, and everything that he built is a castle made of sand, and now I lost everything for a third time. Fuck me, I'm going. And I feel like the story, upon my first read, because I've changed my perspective on it now, but whenever I read it for the first time, I felt like that time skip watered down what the message could have been going up to that point. What is your take on the time skip?
I loved it both times. I thought the first time I was so surprised, and I thought it was so funny. To be honest, I was laughing so hard. And at the last page of the explosion, I also died of laughter and then proceeded to stare at the ceiling. This time, I think I liked it more, but in a different way. Because the first time, it was so surprising, and my take on it was that it was all the vampire stuff. I didn't think was legit, but the time jump, I was like, oh, this is legit. I don't know how he's doing this to record it, but this is older him. This did happen to him, and he is. Maybe he shot footage with Ari beforehand and superimposed himself onto that as an older man in order to like complete this story. And now I think it's all fake. I think that they either hired an actor or they dressed up his dad or something to play an older version of himself or something like that, and they just recorded this ending. But it still never made the final cut. Because we do get... The interesting, confusing thing is that we do get a genuine reaction to a movie. So he does show a version of this movie to his class. Because we get footage of the different people reacting to it. And so, because of that, there's like a cutoff of like, oh, here's where we know they stopped filming. So everything after that, is this happening? Or is this film? Or is it a mixture of both? Or what's going on? So I don't think there's validity in him saying, oh yeah, my whole family died except for me in a car crash. I don't believe that actually happened. But I do think it changes a little bit of what it's going for. Because then instead of the end message of it, I'm trying to think of like the message, but more so the end scene changes from, oh, I got to finally record, someone I actually love leaving us and preserving their memory in a grand way. And that's his character arc. Instead, the character arc is about him kind of coming to terms with everything that has happened so far. And not just his mom's death, and not just Ari's death, but also who he wants to be and where he wants to go in the future. And I think that it ending... Because Explosion really confused me the first time. The first time when I read the Explosion, and I think Johnny and I butt heads about whether the Explosion was a good idea or not for the ending. But the first time I liked it because I thought it was funny. Now I like it because it does feel like him at the end of this movie, whether it's fake, real, if there's actually a vampire, none of that matters. What matters is that at the end of the movie that he got to edit, he gets to say when it ends, what the conclusion is, and... he gets to continue being himself. He always, even before this journey started, even as a kid, he always loved explosions and stories. He always liked the big booms, the big fantasy, the big spectacle. It didn't work in his mother's movie, but it now works for his own movie because it's entirely him. So I do love that.
Yeah, because I mean, throughout the time that Ares basically just glazing his first movie, the like dead mother explosion or whatever it's called, but in that she's like, there's something there. You're an amateur and you need to watch more movies, but you have that innate gift of being able to visualize it. And I really do it. For the problems that I originally had with the time skip, I think ending on the explosion is one of the most set-up payoff of the entire film, because the film that he did originally with his mother, he ends it on that note, and we know that he's had all of this additional training. Like it's a Rocky montage of them just watching movies for 9 hours. But that was a core part of the film, and it wouldn't be him without something that would elevate it. And so whenever I got to that last page, I was like, yeah, that would be the film that he ends on, because it's not straying too far from the original intent of his mother's film, but it's a good triumphant moment. And you see as he's walking out of the building, and he's like sad at first, and then you can see with the character acting, which I think Fujimoto is very great at in this book in particular, that slowly over a couple of panels, he has this realization, and he has this like will to live, and he walks out triumphant and that's whenever the building explodes.
Yep.
Like he doesn't need to go back to his safe space anymore. He doesn't need Eri to, be that comfort in the same way that he can move on with his life. And I think that is some of the most important and impressive character works that Fujimoto has done. Mm-hmm. And I think that that's very much in conversation with Look Back as well, being able to fully realize their motivations and why they're doing what they're doing, even if we're only witnessing the perspective that they want to show us. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I wanted to touch up a little bit on what you were saying for how well he's good at capturing emotions in this one. I love how much time we get with just staring at people's faces. Mm-hmm. I think that's a point of contention, especially in Western comics, especially after the GOAT Gleb called out a certain Donny Cates Venom book for just having floating heads for like 20 pages in a row. Mm-hmm. Because I love a good pause panel where there's a bunch of dialogue, then a panel of the character just kind of like looking at a person and then saying something in the next panel. I think that pause is always such a nice breath of brevity, and it usually is great for an impact for whatever you're going to say for the next panel. Either it could, because like he uses it a few times. He uses it for Eri in one of the earlier scenes with her, and then another time with the dad, where the dad says something like really insightful. They kind of like, should we record that? Do you want me to record that as an actor?
He's like, that was a fucking bar.
He's like, damn, shit. You caught that? You caught that? All right.
We don't need to do another take, right?
Like, dude, take one and done. Wrap it.
Spitting.
Shit. So you could do like an impactful moment that's funny. You could do an impactful moment that's insightful. And I just love how much Fujimoto is able to just, in every panel, look, we have a face that's basically similar, but there's different small changes in expressions and eye movement, and little things like that show you more of what the characters are thinking. And it's nice and subtle, and it's something that I think for comics, especially in Western comics, the Marvel way really made it kind of a staple of Western comics that you have to be dynamic. Everything has to be movement. You have to have a pose. You have to have this. And that makes sense, especially for superhero comics, but it makes sense for superhero comics, cartooning, for comics in general. But to have one that is trying to kind of blend that line of reality, I want to say, and have a little bit more of a serious conversation behind itself, it was a really smart play that made the camera, almost found footage angle of it work really well, while also just bringing out more into characters and allowing them to say stuff without having to say stuff.
Yeah, because I mean, and whenever I was doing research, Fujimoto he's not very confident in his pencils in general. He constantly compares himself to, artists that are better than him, quote unquote. And he's like, yeah, my pencils suck. Like, how do you guys do this shit? And it's funny because he has a good grasp on the character acting and expressions to be able to convey that emotion in that moment. And I feel like it doesn't happen whenever those moments are properly conveyed unless you're utilizing the expressions to the maximum potential, because the small changes in an expression where they can be thinking about something and then they have a revelation, those don't need to be loud or say, Stan Lee-ass dialogue where I have a revelation. And instead it could just be those small beats of character moments. And that's how it makes it pay off, in the same way that, actors, you can read their face and understand their motivation and what they're thinking in the moment. I think that Fujimoto definitely utilized film as his reference, and I feel like that makes him a better cartoonist overall, if we're talking about Western terminology. But being able to convey that emotion, I could understand every character's what their inner monologue was saying without it having to be explicit. And it lends itself to how short this one shot is comparatively to, like, you know, Western comics being 28, 23 pages. I'm old. I remember whenever they were 28. I think they're like 21 at this point.
I think you're right.
But like, that is done as a necessity to keep up that monthly schedule with Western comics. And I think that for as much as he relies on it, Bendis does utilize it well in some areas, and then he over-utilizes it, and the Bobby, you're gay moment is
genius. What the fuck are you talking about?
It is very funny.
No, can we actually? We're gonna pause for a second. Let's talk about it for a second. I'm not even joking. I'm not even joking. This is a queer man hot take of the day. The Bobby coming out is better than any Marvel coming out story, period. Marvel's never done one better than what Bendis was able to do. We meme it to hell. Jean Grey, we got your number. We're on your ass. But it's so realistic. We have a white ally who is overstepping and thinks she's doing something like really cool. She's like, I'm about to show this gay man that he's being misogynist by calling him gay.
Yeah.
And that's such like a white Reddit ally thing to do. Like, am I the asshole for calling out my gay friend because he doesn't want to come out, but I know he's gay, but he's being so sexist? You're the asshole, dude. So, but also, you know, I think it's really, I don't know. I thought it was a fun story.
I think in the story it works, but you devoid that of context.
Yes.
And you just see that page like it's posted a lot of the time. And I think that moment can be insensitive in the reading of it.
Yes, I suppose you could say that.
I
would never come
like
after Bendis, the GOAT, personally.
I would.
You just did, but you know, I wouldn't do that.
I would never do it. I'm just saying.
As a true Bendis fan, as a Bendis boy,
I have Bendis tatted on my ass crack. Come on now.
We will not fact check that.
Audio listeners, I am showing my tramp stamp that just says BENDIS with a $sign for the S. Anyways,
now
so
back in.
Devoid of context.
Yeah.
I think that moment can read as lazy.
Yeah.
Even though it's well intentioned and, you know, it's like you were saying, it pays off in the moment. But somebody posting that on Twitter or BlueSky or Instagram Reels, I don't know. Who knows? But that moment doesn't hit as hard because it's not utilizing the moment-to-moment changes of character acting. And I think that's why Kirkman's moment that he's parodying Bendis in Invincible, where it's just the guy at the con just for multiple panels just looking at him completely dull-faced. I think that at his worst impulse, Bendis does do that. And I think that's a bad thing, but that's dependent on your artist to fully encapsulate the emotion from moment to moment. Perhaps.
Maybe. I don't know. I think you're wrong, but hey, listen. You're the Bendis guy, so.
I love Bendis, and we can get onto a full Bendis talk where we're just talking about how he loves dialogue and that he's one of the last... What? Can I say that? One of the last cartoonists? He is a writer-artist, technically.
Yeah, I don't know if you could say one of the last. I feel like there's a lot of There has to be a lot of cartoonists. What do you mean by that?
He's one of the last cartoonists with a voice.
Oh,
and
okay. Yes.
That is completely his, and it doesn't read as unoriginal. You know a Bendis book. You know... People say Bendis speak. I think that's one of the lamest names. Why are we not calling it Bendis Banter?
Ooh, yeah, hold on. Yeah, let's rebrand it. They're saying Bendis speak because they're trying to make it an insult, when in reality it's kick ass. That's the problem.
Yeah,
So
but
you're
it's
right.
between
Bendis
two
banter is way better.
characters.
Yeah, it's a banter.
Bendis
It's always a
banter is
banter.
just it's always between two people, and they're getting jokes off, and it's rapid fire. It's Gilmore Girls in comics form. Like,
yeah,
that's it. At the end of the day,
we should also, while we're at like talk about like voices, like another strong voice in comics is Tom Taylor, and I think instead of calling them Tom Taylor books, we should call them Tom Taylor trash. And I think that would probably like get to the idea of the book a little bit quicker.
yep, I think so. He does have a voice.
Tom Taylor, yeah. If we're talking about like, sorry, this is another tangent we're going on, but if we're talking about voices in comics, you got at least in like we're talking big two kind of right now, but Bendis, Tom Taylor, Tom King, they like have the strongest voices right now. You know a Tom King book when you read it. I would also say Benjamin Percy on ideas alone. You know when you're like, they announced that new Punisher Deadpool crossover, and
I didn't even have to look at the creative team. I said, I'm sure Benjamin Percy is behind this, and
yeah,
who would have thought?
Exactly. So, yeah, there's definitely like it's interesting like who has a voice in comics, and it's the people who are kind of the most well known are the ones that have the voice, and everyone who is lesser known or not as popular. Like, I'm not being rude or anything, but like Al Ewing, for example, I think is a far better writer than like Tom Taylor, but I don't think he has a distinct enough voice, even though you kind of, when you read an Al Ewing book, you know what you're getting yourself into, but you couldn't pick out an Al Ewing book in a lineup of 10 books, I don't think.
Yeah. Because, I mean, we know the guarantee for a creator in general, but writers like Bendis, you know there's going to be comedy. The vast majority of the time there's going to be some kind of mystery. There's, it doesn't take itself seriously, but it is able to venture into darker tones. Like, all of those are at the core of Bendis, and whenever you're reading dialogue or narration, you understand who this is, because he's getting off so many jokes within like 3 speech bubbles. Like, you understand, even if you're not laughing at every one, you know that he's trying to, give the reader some aspect of comedy and levity in that moment. And I feel like the vast majority of other writers, they read like out of context panels. They're like made for Tumblr, and they have Tumblr voice in the dialogue, where I know that you set up this entire moment of Batman petting a dog so somebody can take a screenshot of it and post it on National Dog Day, and then they can tag you for it. It's like, you did this entire moment to get likes on Instagram. Like, I know what you're doing, and it doesn't do anything for me. That's not telling a gripping story. And I have a problem with the way that Tom Taylor writes characters in general.
He sucks. I would also, while we're at it, Tom King writing woman. What's up with that? I love that Tom King, he's kind of like, oh, we need a woman to be, everyone know that this woman is a strong character. She's going to curse a lot. Meanwhile, the GOAT, Tatsuki Fujimoto, doesn't need to do that to make a complex female character. He just writes them complex. So that's something that makes, and this is what I call a segue. And that's what makes Aries such an interesting and fun character and kind of subject of the story, even though she's not the main character. She is allowed to be complex even before we know the twist of, she might have been like pretty rude in real life, or like maybe even controlling or manipulative. We don't get to see that side of her. That adds actually her complexity. But even before we see that side of her, she's a complex character with complex emotions. Like, she knows she's dying. She's kind of like in this idea of like, she wants the same thing that Yuta's mom wanted. And I think she sees herself in both people. She sees herself in Yuta, and she sees herself in Yuta's mom. and she feels like she'd be honored to get preserved in the same way that his mom did. And I think she went about it in a much better way than his mom did, which is pretty low bar. But I think there's still an argument that she did manipulate him a little bit, though I don't think I would totally agree with that. I think she was a kid looking for a friend and looking for just someone to pass the rest of her time with. So
yeah, I mean they have similarities. They have a kinship that's born out of it. I mean, she was weird.
yeah,
She was in abandoned buildings watching movies for hours at a time, and
yeah.
Yuta was the only one that would sit down with her and do that with her, as far as we know. And I think that they were both what they needed in that moment for each other. And whether it's a positive or negative for how their lives went forward, at the end of the day, they needed each other and they came together. And I think that those motivations and being able to have a distinct voice for Eri is interesting. And I think that having two characters to bounce off of one another definitely lends to the angle that Fujimoto goes for. Going back to Look Back and Eri. But being able to have those two characters that are similar enough, but there's one thing that drives them apart, is fascinating to witness over time.
Yeah.
And I think that he's able to do that very well in these areas. But in Chainsaw Man, like you were saying earlier, it reads as like, it's kind of juvenile. And I understand why it is, because like Denji's supposed to be a kid, and there's a groomer that has rat powers or whatever the fuck. I've only watched the first season and the movie, so I have no idea where that's going. But it does read as juvenile in comparison. But I do think that Fujimoto has a better understanding of how to portray characters with complex motivations and those interactions between characters to have them diverge at different points and make them into fully fledged characters.
Yeah.
They have personality. You know how they're going to react to things.
Yeah. I also think he does a really good job of connecting the themes or like arcs of the different characters to what's going on. So in Chainsaw Man, Denji, he gets like this very violent and almost uncontrollable type of power, which is complementary to how out of control his like kind of hormones are. He's someone who hasn't had someone in his life to help regulate them, and then someone comes into his life to help, quote unquote, regulate them in Makima, and instead she's just trying to use his power to for her own gains. And in doing so, she knows she can use that her control over his puberty needs, basically. And I think similarly in this, there's a connection between the themes of the story of death and remembering people and longevity of characters. And we get a opposite flip of the roles for Yuta and Eri. So Eri is a character who is dying, who gets to be preserved like a vampire in a way in this movie. So she gets to play a character who is going to live for thousands and thousands of years when she only gets a short lifetime. And at the same time, her movie gets to live for hopefully thousands and thousands of years. On the flip side, Yuta is a character who gets to survive the whole story, and there's never any danger of him actually reaching any real harm. But he's the one that has to preserve it and has to live with the actual memories of these people. So it's interesting. I think that Fujimoto is always really, really good at finding that connective tissue of theme and character, which again, I just think a lot of like Western comics, especially in the big two, don't care about a lot. They care about character and story arc, but they don't care about what the character gets to say about us. And I think Fujimoto is always thinking, what is it saying about me and thus like the reader? What am I trying to say about the world? Or what am I trying to say about, like, when there's that in Chainsaw Man, there's a scene where you get to see the big gun demon that spawns, I think, over America, and it's so ridiculously hideous and full of guns and shit, and you're like, oh, what the fuck? Like, that's what we are, I guess. But there's a connective idea there of what's going on in our world. We have a gun problem that Japan doesn't have, and so they kind of, from an outside view, we get to see, oh, this is kind of what they think of America in terms of violence, and like what kind of violence we have going on here versus what they have there. So yeah, shout out to Fujimoto. I think Fujimoto, Goodbye Eri is just a masterpiece, I think. And I said that when I first read it. I said it again when I read it again today. And I'll probably say it again when I read it again next year.
And the year going forward until you're 35 and your wife and children and your father die.
Nope, not me. Not me. Someone else. I'm 30, dog. That's 5 years from now. Not me. You're crazy. It's going to keep going until I'm 92 and then everyone dies. All right?
Yeah. There you go. I'd rather burn out as a burnout, bright, younger. I don't know. I've worked all day today. I'm completely just out of my mind at this point.
Yeah, I was doing polyurethane over the hardwood floors today, so I have dizzy fume brain right now.
Yeah. Well, that's, we'll burn bright, and you know what they say.
We'll burn bright and die.
It'll burn bright just like a diamond.
Call me Kurt Cobain the way I'm burning bright like a diamond.
Call me Kurt Cobain.
Kurt Cobain the way. Never mind.
Never
mind. Cut that.
Call me Kurt Cobain damage the way. Okay. I got a shotgun.
Uh-oh.
Yep.
I got to shotgun these beers. Right, chat?
Can we get some W's in the chat? I need a max win.
I need a max win for the Knicks. This Saturday. Coming up.
It is coming up.
It is coming up.
Don't forget to put in your poly market bets.
I'm on Kalshi, bro. What this became like a poly market Kalshi sponsorship? Dude, you could bet on anything on Kalshi. I'm gonna sell out one day. I bet I put $25,000 that the fucking pool in front of the White House was gonna turn green, bro.
Who knows?
I bought a yacht.
Did you see that shit where George Santos, like he do you know who George Santos is? Yeah, I know who George Santos is. All right, he's I'm fascinated with him because he's like one of the worst people ever. But he put a bet he put it out there on like Kalshi or some shit that he would be at Trump's thing that was happening, and then he announced that he would be there.
He didn't show up?
And he didn't show up on purpose.
Ghost.
So he bet on that he wouldn't show up.
Yo.
It's just like outwardly like insider trading, and it's just legal, and that's so crazy.
I have to be so honest. Wait, did he make that bet from like his own account that everyone knows is his account?
No. But okay. Like it's very
up.
Explicit.
Behavior,
like he was telegraphing like, hey, I'm definitely gonna be here, so you should bet on this thing. And so the odds were like 99-1.
Yeah.
And he bet on the one, and he had this crazy cash out.
All right. I have to be so real. One, that's so fucked up. No one should be allowed to do that. Two, that's so cool.
It's so
that's
funny.
Baller as hell. Hell yeah, man. I think
I would applaud him if he wasn't awful.
Yeah. I'm conflicted only because gambling is an actual real world addiction. It's something that is connected to a part of your brain that is an actual mental issue that people need help with. I look so red. Did I look like this the whole time? I'm like a fucking tomato. Are you serious right now? You let me come on stage like this? Is it holy shit.
Evan Cherub.
Oh my god. I look like fucking Bob from VeggieTales. God damn. I can't believe I look like this the whole time. You can fix this in post, right?
Yeah,
right?
I'll
Holy
put
shit.
my coloring on over on your side, and then we'll get canceled. I don't know.
I've literally never felt embarrassed on camera until right now. I gotta bring this light in. This is what I look like, guys. I actually look like, I don't look like a tomato, I swear to God. That's wild. Anyway.
That's so funny.
Yeah, if you have a addiction to gambling, please call this number.
Seek help.
Kirby will put the number below me, and if he doesn't, he's a bad person.
If I don't remember this,
He's a bad person.
you can sue Kalshi, I think, legally.
You should sue. We should all sue Kalshi, I think.
Yeah. And then I'll bet on if we win or lose the lawsuit, and we'll make crazy money.
Yeah. I'm going to say out loud right now, I'm going to sue Kalshi. Yeah, you got to put a bet down that I'm not going to sue Kalshi. I'm going to do it.
I'm going to go ahead and reach out to the bushy. The bookie
the
is...
you got to reach out to the pussy.
Yeah, Bobby Bussy. I just got to put a DM to him.
That's why it's called Polymark. Okay, I caught up now.
Yeah, Polymark.
I almost said something super dark about Ned Fulmer there for a second there. Holy shit. I almost said something crazy that got me canceled. I think. we got to stop before I say something. We got to get out of here.
Jesus Christ.
Thank you for having me.
Of course, thank you for coming on. If you like this video, then you should give it a like, subscribe to the channel, go over to Evan Von Doom. He'll be posting more, I hope, over on Evan Von Doom. That would be great.
Comeback season.
Go and listen to What's Next podcast.
Yeah.
Of course. I make appearances every once in a while.
Yeah.
And outside of that, unsubscribe to Comic Krackle. Go subscribe to Every Kind of Geek instead.
Yeah. Go subscribe to Every Kind of Geek and at him. At him and say, I love you. Say those words to him.
No context.
No contact.
Don't...
No context. Say, show me the pussy to Every Kind of Geek. I'm betting
on your
pussy. Tell him that.
Benny Bussy is? Go in his most recent video.
Go to his most recent video and put in the comments, do you know who Benny Bussy is? I like how we were calling Fujimoto immature earlier, and now look at us. I'm beat red laughing because we said pussy.
Benny Bussy.
I'm so embarrassed right now.
That's the guy that's married to Selena Gomez, isn't it?
No, you make that up.
Yeah.
Who is Benny Bussy? Who is this guy?
His name is Benny Blanco.
All right, I'll bet. Who the fuck is Benny Blanco? I don't know who these people
are. He's a producer. He worked with Lil Dicky. Yeah.
Oh, that actually sounds familiar now. Okay.
Yeah. He's got fucked up toes. You should see it.
Yo,
it's awful.
Polymark it on over under on me sucking them toes.
Okay,
right,
put in your bets for Benny Bussy, and we'll catch you next time. Have a good one.
Bye forever.
Or don't.